Alright guys, my boy Super Vegeta's EZA is here. Cannot wait to try him out. We do only have the one dupe in him, but he is level 10 links. We do have him on his new 200% lead and also an old one. The reason why I've decided to go with the full Vegeta's family team and use Margin Vegeta is literally so I could also use the new transforming Super Saiyan Vegeta, so we can actually link them together. That is actually one of the better units to link him with, of course. So I was like, why not? You know, I'm a Vegeta fanboy, why not? It gives me a good reason to use not only the new EZA, the new unit as a friend, because I didn't manage to pull him, even though I did summon. Use the new King Vegeta, use Vegeta in Trunks. Use my boy, basically. So that's exactly what we're doing right now. He is starting with 505k attack stats, 178k defense. There is no attack before he attacks, so we're not going to get the extra 50% attack and defense for him receiving an attack. So we're just going to let it play out how it's going to play out. The only link we're missing right now is Super Saiyan. We are missing Golden Warrior, but Golden Warrior is just such a duty link. Like, it just doesn't matter that we don't have it active. And we've also got Margin Vegeta's damage reduction, which is good. Starting with 10.3 million attack stat, not bad, especially because this is going to be a guaranteed crit, which means immediately Super Vegeta is very strong, no matter what. I know it's not a 15 million attack stat, 20 million attack stat, but if he's good doing 10 million, 15 million plus attack stats with a guaranteed crit on all of them, if you get an additional, he's doing good raw amounts of damage, which not a lot of units do. On super attack, he is also raising defense by 30% for one turn, causes immense damage to the enemy, and again, all attacks do become critical hits for one turn. He starts with Ki +2, attack and defense plus 200%. He will guard all attacks for 5 turns from the character's entry turn, which I think is a very good addition, just because guard is very strong. But also, because of the extra attack and defense he does get for receiving an attack, it's a little bit safer to do that now because he does have guard, giving him some extra coverage. So I'm very much a fan of that. We do not really have a slot 1 unit here until Vegeta and Trunks get here. I know it's been a while since Frieza was very difficult, but he could still catch you. That's the funny thing. He could still catch you. So let's just hope he doesn't catch us. That's what we got hope for. Let's hope he just doesn't catch us. Cool, good start. He's also gaining an additional attack and defense plus 100% on Super, which is why his attack and defense do jump up quite a lot. He then gains an additional attack and defense plus 50% with each super attack performed. Does go up to 100%, so we've already got one of those buffs. Next turn, we'll get that second buff we need. Literally takes 2 super attacks and bang, you've got it. Which makes it very easy to get that very quick. And then, of course, the extra 50% attack and defense he does get after he receives an attack. Which, I can't lie, the same issue he had when he initially released is still here. Like, yes, he has guard now, which is good, and he needs it. Especially if you're going to put him in slot 1 to get the extra attack and defense plus 50%. But he still kind of has the same issue he did when he had upon release, which was you want to get the extra attack and defense plus 50%. You can still get the defense after he super attacks, because that's where a lot of his defense does come from, and it will still kick in. But you do miss out on 50% extra attack, and you do miss out on some extra damage, which I do think is a shame. Now he has guard, it does make it a little bit safer to do that. However, because of how much we've evolved with content, because of how much more difficult content is, 15.5 off of the back of getting the final buff and also receiving an attack. And don't forget, that's 15.5 mil with a guaranteed crit. So if Vegeta gets hit and off of his final buff to get the full 100% after performing 2 super attacks, you're looking at 15.5 million on a super. Which again is good, but don't forget that's 15.5 mil on a super attack with a guaranteed crit. That's a lot of damage. Even if we didn't have type advantage right here, that's a lot of damage. If we got an additional super attack as well, you're talking closer to 20 mil and 2 back-to-back hefty crits. So my boy Jeets being strong, very strong, is very apparent. I think defensively, though, is where he's going to be lacking a little bit. However, he's still viable and still runnable in difficult content. The one thing I'm noticing from, like, kind of early doors using him and going through his passive once again is, I feel like he was more suited to how Global's content currently is rather than JP. Even though it is a shared celebration, of course, we're sharing the content right now. Both Global and JP have received this EZA at the same time. I do really feel like he's more suited to Global, and they didn't make him too strong just because Global isn't quite there yet. And then if they kind of put him on JP's level of EZA, or where he should be on JP, then he'd be insanely strong on Global right now and probably be the #1 unit in the game until the 9th anniversary comes around. So I feel like they did kind of hold back a little bit. Like, don't get me wrong, guard for 5 turns is good, but that will go after 5 turns, and then you're relying on sheer defense. I do feel like he'll still be caught, especially on the initial attack before he does get the 50% attack and defense when receiving an attack. I do feel like, I said, that issue's still there. If you put him in slot 1, I said, it's safer to do, but content is hitting harder than it's ever hit, which means the guard is a necessity, but that first normal attack he takes, or that first attack he takes before that 50% attack and defense kicks in for receiving an attack, will probably still do some damage to Super Vegeta. In terms of how much it will do, not entirely sure until we test them out in difficult content, but that's where the guard comes in. But I still feel like that initial normal would still do a bit of extra damage that we're not really wanting, which again kind of circles back to my point of, I feel like he's very much suited to Global, but I feel like they did hold back on him a little bit, because otherwise he'd be too strong on Global and he'd probably be #1 until the 9th anniversary comes about. That could be one of the reasons, but I feel like they did hold back with Jeets. But we have got King Vegeta's support, along with having him quite well linked up. Let's pop this. It's a shame I didn't manage to pull him. I really wish I managed to pull him. But he does also launch an additional super attack within the same turn after receiving an attack, and gain an additional attack and defense plus 50%, and have guaranteed guard when there's an enemy whose name includes Cell, which of course on both Global and JP, there aren't too many enemies that include Cell, or not enough meaningful enemies, where of course we're testing out these new units, these new EZAs against, that actually matter. You know, Global right now has Fusion Zamasu, has a Mega Shenron from the Shadow Dragon event. There is the new Cell Max event or Cell Max stage on JP, but that's just one. Other than that, you've got like Gogeta Blue, you've got Beast Gohan, you've got all of those, you know, stages from the 9th anniversary content. Whereas Global doesn't really have any right now. So it won't be too many situations where you're getting that buff against Cell, but if you could get it, having guaranteed guard at all times and a guaranteed additional super is so strong, because that's a 15 mil super, then close to a 20 mil super, guaranteed. Then if you have dupes, that could be over a 20 million super, and all of those supers are guaranteed to crit. And the most important part is, he keeps his guard. And that extra 50% attack and defense with all the rest he gets will actually go a long way. But with the King Vegeta support, 1.28 million on the attack, 427k defense. Pretty sure this is the final turn of Super Vegeta's guard, so we're going to make the most of it by him chilling in slot 1 and utilizing King Vegeta's support. And what is he putting out once he does get hit? 23 million. That is 23 million and a guaranteed crit. He's so strong. So strong. You know, maybe defensively once his guard gone, maybe it won't matter too much because the enemy would already be dead. Do you know what I mean? Can you imagine if you were facing a Cell enemy? You know, you're looking at potentially 3 super attacks, all going from like 15, 17, 20 plus mil with guaranteed crits. That's a lot of damage. He also stuns enemies attacked by the character's super attack, which you're only going to be able to utilize in a handful of situations, so don't really pay attention to that too much. One thing Super Vegeta definitely is strong. As I said, going over his passive once again, like looking at it in detail now, I said I definitely feel like they held back a little bit, and I do feel like that's because Global currently is still behind JP, and he would be incredibly strong on JP if he was given the type of EZA he could have got if we were already synced up. So I do feel like he's very suited for Global's content right now, which I'm not going to mind, because it does mean he's very good on Global right now, which of course I main, and that's my boy. I feel like against Fusion Zamasu, having that guard where AoEs are going to be especially when 9 times out of 10 you are using a Whis. He's going to be fine there. He's going to do a ton of damage, get you through to that second phase quickly. And then by the time his guard does run out, even though Fusion's Zamasu on very much the extremely shorter side, he then has type advantage. You're going to put him in slot 2. He's going to get all of his defense because he gets the majority of defense after he super attacks anyway. And he'll have type advantage with guaranteed crit. He's going to be doing a ton of damage. So I've against Fusion Zamasu, I do feel like he's very much suited for Global's content, more so than JP. But as I said, as a global player, as a global main, I'll take that because it does mean for the next 5 to 6 months, he's incredibly relevant. Probably one of the stronger units in the game. But I do feel like they hold back and he definitely could have been better. But as I said, I think his main issue, his main qualm is, I mean, naturally, once that guard runs out, you know, with Shadow Dragon Omega being on the longer side, the new 9th anniversary, new 9th anniversary content that JP has, that's also a little bit on the longer side. It does expose him a little bit, especially if you're not facing a cell enemy where you can get the guaranteed guard at all times, the extra attack and defense, the guaranteed additional with an extra 30% defense on super. I feel like naturally that's going to happen. Which is why I feel like he's very much suited for Fusion Zamasu, which is currently the hardest enemy in the game on global. But also, as I said, he still follows the same issue that he had when he initially released, where if you do want that extra attack and defense from him receiving an attack, which defensively is important, but for the most part, as I said, he gets the majority of all of his defense once he supers. You know, the 30% on SA effect, the 100% when performing a super attack, the 50% attack and defense he gets once he's done 2 super attacks, and then of course once he gets hit, he gets 50% defense. If you put him in slot 1 with the guard, yes, it's a lot safer to do, but he'll probably take a decent amount of damage from the initial normal before he does get the extra 50% attack and defense after he does receive an attack. And then he's good. But then if you put him in slot 2, he gets a super attack, gets all that extra attack and defense. He kind of has a bit of extra beef, an extra bit of padding, extra defense for him to be able to tank a normal, especially without the guard, especially once that's worn off, to then be hit and then get the extra 50% attack and defense. The only annoying thing about that is, of course, yes, he has all the extra defensive coverage and then he gets the extra 50%, but you are going to miss out on, of course, that 50% applying to his attack as well. So I do feel like that kind of issue, that annoyance that was there once he initially released is there. But the guard definitely does help. But we're going to pop his active skill, which of course, once we do activate, he does gain ki +5 and attack +50% for 1 turn. So we're going to pop it right now. It's actually been a while since I've seen this.
Looks like I'm a little too much for you to handle now.
But boy, does it still look good. That's right, you are Super Vegeta. Let's do this. Let's do this. 1.6.5 mil attack stat, 356k defense. We actually have every single link active right now, which is kind of crazy. But let's see what kind of damage he's doing with his active skill. Again, don't forget, he's going to have guaranteed crit on this super attack as well. That's one thing Super Vegeta is and always has been, and his EZA is no different, is he is incredibly strong. Incredibly strong. Like, he does stupid amounts of damage. Really annoying that he got the additional. Really annoying he got the additional. I mean, hey, it's 50% attack. You're probably looking without the support around about 20, just over 20 million. It'll probably be the similar rotation as when King Vegeta was there. But after briefly testing him out against Frieza, because I didn't want to take him in against the Cell enemy just because he does get all of those buffs, he does look pretty good. I said he's very, very strong. That built-in crit, dumb. Doing 15+ million attack stats with a guaranteed crit with the potential of an additional from the potential system, dumb. If you're facing a Cell enemy, God forbid, I generally may test him out against Cell Max, purely for shits and giggles to see how much damage he does. Even if he does get his shit rocked and dies, I still want to see how much damage he does. But definitely very strong. As I said, I do feel like he was more made for global and they did hold back a bit, which is a massive shame because it does mean on JP he probably won't be as good and he'll die out quicker, like he won't have a lot of longevity. But he's very strong and he does seem like a lot of fun to use. So I'm here for it. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Have a good rest of your day. and post.